Emma Dawson was the kind of woman whose presence alone could command a room. As the only heir to the Dawson Group, her life had been filled with luxuries and opportunities most could only dream of. But none of it mattered when she met Daniel Morgan. Struck by his charm and what she believed to be genuine love, she left behind her world of wealth and privilege, choosing to live a modest life by his side. The early days of their marriage were filled with passion and shared dreams. Emma had wholeheartedly supported Daniel in his endeavors to establish his own company. She poured her time, energy, and even the modest financial resources she had left into helping him. Yet, as the months turned into years, the warmth between them began to fade. The once lively conversations were now replaced by awkward silences. Daniel, who had once looked at her with admiration, now seemed perpetually distracted. Emma often found herself alone in their small home, the walls closing in on her as the reality of their life together grew colder. She convinced herself that Daniel was merely stressed by the challenges his company faced. After all, the market was unforgiving, and his business teetered on the edge of collapse. But there were signs Emma couldn't ignore. Daniel started coming home late, often with vague excuses about last-minute meetings or networking events. His phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, was now always in his pocket, buzzing with calls he would step outside to take. When she pressed him for answers, he brushed her concerns aside, accusing her of not understanding the pressures of running a business. Emma's heart ached with a growing sense of betrayal. Her instincts whispered what her mind refused to believe. Daniel was hiding something, and for the first time, she felt a crack in the foundation of their marriage, a crack that threatened to widen into a chasm too vast to bridge. Emma had always trusted Daniel, even when her instincts told her otherwise. She dismissed her unease as paranoia, convincing herself that their relationship was simply going through a rough patch. But one evening, when Daniel left his laptop open on the kitchen table, Emma's world began to crumble. A notification popped up on the screen, a message from Clara Ruiz, Daniel's business partner. It wasn't unusual for Clara to be in touch. She had been a key figure in helping Daniel manage his struggling company. But this message was different. The words were intimate, playful, and far too personal for a professional relationship. With shaking hands, Emma scrolled through the conversation and found an undeniable trail of affection, inside jokes, and plans to meet at a hotel. Her breath hitched as she realized the truth. Clara wasn't just a colleague. She was Daniel's lover. Memories flooded her mind. His late nights, the secretive calls, the way his demeanor brightened when he spoke of Clara. It all made sense now, and the betrayal hit her like a physical blow. As the initial shock wore off, Emma delved deeper. What she uncovered was even more devastating. Hidden among the files on Daniel's laptop were emails detailing his plans to leverage his marriage to Emma. He had used their relationship as a bargaining chip to secure financial backing from Dawson Group, claiming their union symbolized stability and trustworthiness. She wasn't just a wife to him. She had been a pawn in his quest for power. The realization cut deeper than she thought possible. Daniel hadn't just betrayed her love, he had exploited her trust, her family, and the very sacrifices she had made for their life together. Emma's despair soon turned into resolve. She packed her belongings quietly, her hands trembling as she folded away remnants of the life they had shared. There was no dramatic confrontation, no final argument. She left a simple note on the counter. "I deserve better. The papers will come soon." As Emma walked out of the small apartment that had once felt like a haven, she didn't look back. The pain in her chest was sharp, but beneath it was a spark of determination. She had lost herself in Daniel's world, but now she would find herself again, on her own terms. Emma returned to the towering Dawson headquarters with a mixture of dread and resolve. The sprawling offices, the polished hallways, and the commanding view of the city had once been her domain. Yet stepping back felt like entering foreign territory, a stark reminder of the life she had left behind for love. She wasn't the same woman who had walked away 3 years ago. Now she carried scars of betrayal and a renewed sense of purpose. The boardroom was tense as she entered. Executives, some of whom had doubted her decision to relinquish control of the company, eyed her with curiosity and skepticism. "Miss Dawson," one of them began hesitantly, "We're glad to see you back. The market has been challenging." Emma's voice was steady, betraying none of the turmoil she felt inside. "I'm here to address that. Dawson Group has always been about resilience and leadership. I intend to bring both back to the forefront." Her first weeks were grueling. The company's financials were stable, but innovation had stalled. Emma poured herself into every detail, reviewing reports, meeting with department heads, and crafting strategies to reinvigorate the brand. The media caught wind of her return, and her divorce with Daniel became a headline sensation. Reporters speculated wildly about the reasons behind the split, and whispers of Daniel's infidelity began to surface. The gossip was an unwanted distraction, yet it worked to Emma's advantage. While Daniel scrambled to protect his tarnished reputation, Emma reclaimed her own. She wasn't just a woman scorned, she was a businesswoman reclaiming her throne. Every press appearance and corporate decision added to her narrative of strength and reinvention. Meanwhile, Daniel attempted damage control, reaching out to Emma under the guise of reconciliation. But Emma had no interest in revisiting the past. She had a legacy to uphold and a future to rebuild, one in which Daniel Morgan played no part. Daniel Morgan was not a man who took defeat lightly. As news of Emma's triumphant return to Dawson Group spread, his anger simmered into a calculated vendetta. He had lost control of his carefully constructed facade, and his empire was beginning to crumble. Determined to salvage his own reputation, Daniel sought an unlikely ally, Henry Prescott, a ruthless tycoon and long-standing rival of the Dawson family. Sitting in Prescott's opulent office, Daniel laid out his plan. "Emma's return has stirred up the markets. If we can plant doubts about her leadership and stability, the Dawson Group's stock will take a hit. With your resources and influence, we can orchestrate a campaign to exploit her weakest moments." Prescott's steely gaze met Daniel's. "You're suggesting a smear campaign. Dangerous if it backfires." "It won't," Daniel insisted. "Emma may be clever, but she's emotional. She won't anticipate a strategic assault." Prescott leaned back, considering the proposition. His lips curled into a smirk. "I'll provide the means, but if this plan fails, don't expect me to shield you from the fallout." The alliance was forged, and within days, a torrent of rumors began circulating in the financial sector. Whispers of internal discord and leadership instability at Dawson Group spread like wildfire, triggering a dip in the company's stock prices. Articles appeared in influential publications questioning Emma's ability to steer the ship, casting her as a fragile heiress thrust into the spotlight. At the same time, Emma was uncovering disturbing anomalies in the financial reports of Morgan Enterprises. Her late nights poring over documents unearthed evidence of fraudulent transactions, suspicious payouts, and questionable offshore accounts. It was clear Daniel had not only betrayed her personally, but had also leveraged unethical practices to sustain his business. Emma's resolve hardened. If Daniel wanted a war, she would fight with strategy, not emotion. She quietly assembled a team of legal and financial experts to build a case against him. Her objective was twofold: expose his wrongdoings and stabilize Dawson Group against the orchestrated attacks. As Daniel and Prescott's campaign escalated, Emma prepared her counteroffensive. This wasn't just a battle for corporate survival, it was a chance to dismantle the deceitful empire Daniel had built at her expense. For every move he made, she would have an answer. The game of chess had begun. Emma's days were filled with meticulous preparation, and her nights were no less intense. Sitting across from Liam Sullivan, an investigative journalist renowned for uncovering high-stakes scandals, she laid out her findings. "These are copies of financial documents linked to Morgan Enterprises," Emma began, sliding a folder across the table. "There's evidence suggesting offshore accounts and transactions meant to funnel money for something. I need your expertise to connect the dots." Liam flipped through the pages, his sharp eyes scanning the data. "This isn't just shady business. If these numbers check out, Daniel and his partner are orchestrating a deliberate campaign, but we'll need more to pin them down." Together, they dug deeper, cross-referencing Daniel's financial trails with Prescott's dealings. As the puzzle pieces fit together, the scope of the conspiracy became clear. Fabricated reports were leaked to discredit Dawson Group, coupled with falsified data showing supposed financial instability under Emma's leadership. It was a calculated attack designed to erode investor confidence and leave her company vulnerable to a takeover. The breakthrough came when Liam secured leaked correspondence between Daniel and Prescott. The messages detailed their strategy, including specific instructions for falsifying reports and planting rumors. It was undeniable evidence. The day of the shareholders' meeting arrived. The grand hall was filled with murmurs of concern and speculation. Stockholders, media representatives, and company executives were all present, eagerly awaiting Emma's response to the mounting scandals. Emma entered the room with quiet confidence, clutching the damning evidence like a shield. Taking her place at the podium, she met the eyes of her audience and began. Ladies and gentlemen, in recent weeks, you've heard troubling reports about Dawson Group. I stand before you not to deny these claims, but to expose the truth behind them. With a click of her remote, a projector displayed emails, financial records, and fabricated reports on the screen. Gasps filled the room as Emma laid out the sequence of events, naming Daniel Morgan and Henry Prescott as the architects of the deception. These men, she said, her voice unwavering, have conspired not just to harm Dawson Group, but to manipulate the trust of our investors for their personal gain. Here are the emails detailing their strategy and the financial irregularities that prove their involvement. In the crowd, Daniel's face turned a deep shade of red. Prescott shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Murmurs grew louder as the shareholders began to grasp the enormity of the betrayal. Meanwhile, Clara Ruiz, Daniel's supposed ally, was watching from the sidelines. The weight of Emma's revelations unsettled her. She had always admired Daniel's ambition, but now she saw the lengths he was willing to go. Clara's conscience warred with her loyalty, and the temptation to come clean gnawed at her. Later that evening, Clara attempted to call Emma, her voice trembling. I need to tell you something. There's more to what Daniel and Henry have done." Before Clara could say more, her phone buzzed with a message. "Stay quiet or face the consequences." It was from Henry. Her blood ran cold. Clara knew she was trapped, but the seeds of doubt had been sown. It was only a matter of time before the truth emerged, no matter the cost. The world around Emma seemed to pause as she stared at the news headline. Young businesswoman Clara Ruiz found dead in suspected accident. Her heart clenched, not with grief for a friend, but with outrage for an ally silenced too soon. Clara had promised to meet Emma that evening, bringing with her the final pieces of evidence that would solidify Daniel and Henry's culpability. Emma had waited at the quiet cafe, glancing at the door every few minutes, only to be met with silence. Now, the answer to Clara's absence was brutally clear. Emma pieced together the events leading up to Clara's death. The reports called it a car accident, but Emma saw the inconsistencies. A single car veering off a straight road, no signs of mechanical failure, and no witnesses stepping forward despite the busy location. It screamed foul play. Her suspicions deepened when she remembered Clara's trembling voice on their last phone call. Clara had confessed to fearing for her safety, but Emma had assured her that the truth would protect her. Now, guilt weighed heavily on Emma's shoulders. Later that night, Emma sat with Liam in her study, the room dimly lit by the glow of her laptop. "This wasn't an accident," she said, her voice laced with fury. "Clara was going to bring us the evidence we needed, and now she's gone." Liam nodded grimly. "It's too convenient. Clara was a liability for them. Henry Prescott has been known for eliminating threats. This fits his pattern." Emma's mind raced, alternating between rage and resolve. If they think this will scare me into backing down, they're wrong. They've crossed a line. She turned her focus back to Dawson Group. With Clara's death, Emma knew she needed to accelerate her plans. Dawson Group was more vulnerable than ever, and Daniel and Henry were playing for keeps. Emma reached out to trusted allies, including private investigators and security experts, to ensure the safety of her team and herself. Emma stood before her board of directors the next day, her presence commanding attention. "Clara Ruiz gave her life for this," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I will not let her death be in vain. Dawson Group will not only survive this attack, but we will expose the truth behind it." Her speech reignited a spark in the room. The board members, some of whom had begun to waver in their loyalty, felt the fire of Emma's determination. The fight was far from over, but with Clara's sacrifice as a rallying cry, Emma was ready to take the battle to the next level. The exclusive business summit was abuzz with power players from across the industry, their conversations a mix of alliances and rivalries. Emma entered the grand hall with purpose, her sharp suit and unwavering gaze signaling that she was a force to be reckoned with. Whispers filled the air as her presence alone unsettled her adversaries. At the heart of the gathering was Henry Prescott, his smug demeanor exuding confidence. As Emma approached the podium, Henry's expression faltered for just a moment. She seized the attention of the room with a commanding voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate innovation and integrity in business. Yet integrity is the very thing under siege." Emma's piercing eyes met Henry's across the room as she continued. "I have uncovered evidence of fraudulent transactions and malicious conspiracies designed to destabilize businesses for personal gain." The room fell silent as she presented documented proof of Henry's illegal dealings, his alliances with corrupt figures, and his role in recent attacks on Dawson Group. Gasps echoed as she displayed damning evidence, leaving Henry visibly shaken. Fury replaced his unease as he stormed forward. "This isn't over, Emma," he hissed. "You've made a dangerous enemy." Emma met his glare, her voice steady. "Then you should have chosen your battles more carefully." The courtroom was packed, the air heavy with anticipation. Daniel Morgan sat at the plaintiff's table, his legal team poised and confident. Across the aisle, Emma Dawson exuded calm determination, her lawyer flipping through neatly organized documents. Daniel's lawyer stood, launching into a fiery opening statement. "Your Honor, we are here to address the malicious actions of Emma Dawson, who has deliberately undermined my client's company, resulting in severe financial losses." Emma remained composed, her sharp eyes fixed on Daniel. He avoided her gaze, his bravado cracking under the weight of the truth. When it was Emma's turn, her lawyer rose smoothly. "Your Honor, we will prove that not only are these accusations baseless, but that Mr. Morgan has engaged in fraudulent activities to cover his financial mismanagement." Emma's legal team presented a series of documents tracing Daniel's misuse of corporate funds. Lavish trips, high-end purchases, and unexplained transfers were all laid bare. Each revelation drew murmurs from the spectators, and Daniel's confidence visibly dwindled. "Miss Dawson," the judge said, turning to Emma as she took the stand, "can you confirm that these transactions occurred under Mr. Morgan's authorization?" Emma nodded firmly. "Yes, Your Honor. These funds were siphoned from his company under the guise of legitimate business expenses. I was unaware until my legal team uncovered the details." Daniel's lawyer objected, but the judge allowed the evidence. Emma's meticulous records left no room for doubt. The defense's final blow came when Emma's lawyer unveiled emails showing Daniel conspiring to frame Emma for his company's failures. Gasps erupted, and Daniel's face drained of color. The verdict was swift. Daniel was ordered to compensate Emma for legal damages and faced impending criminal charges for embezzlement. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed Emma, but she simply walked away, her silence speaking louder than words. For Daniel, the reality of his defeat began to set in. The man who once sought to control Emma now faced a future dictated by his own misdeeds. The grand conference hall of Dawson Group buzzed with anticipation as shareholders, executives, and industry insiders filled the room. Emma Dawson stood poised at the podium, her every word commanding attention. It was a pivotal moment for the company, and Emma intended to solidify her leadership. Unbeknownst to her, Henry Prescott had orchestrated a sinister plan to ensure she never left the room alive. A man posing as part of the catering team moved silently through the crowd, his demeanor calm, yet calculating. Hidden within the tray of drinks he carried was a concealed weapon. As Emma delivered a passionate speech about Dawson Group's future, Liam Sullivan, seated near the back of the room, noticed something off. His journalist instincts flared as he spotted the caterer subtly signaling to another man by the side exit. Liam's mind raced, piecing together the potential threat. Suddenly, Emma's microphone emitted a loud screech, forcing her to pause. It was a split-second distraction, but enough for Liam to act. He slipped out of his chair and intercepted the caterer just as he reached into the tray. The commotion caught the attention of security, who quickly subdued the man and discovered the weapon. The room erupted in chaos, and Emma, shaken but composed, was rushed to safety. In a private suite upstairs, she turned to Liam, her voice steady despite the ordeal. "You saved my life," she said, gratitude and determination shining in her eyes. "It's not over yet," Liam replied grimly. "Henry won't stop until he's taken down." Hours later, Emma met with law enforcement, presenting a dossier of evidence she and Liam had gathered over the past weeks. The documents linked Henry to the failed assassination attempt and several other illicit activities, including money laundering and corporate sabotage. That evening, Henry Prescott was arrested at his sprawling estate. His smug demeanor vanished as officers led him away in handcuffs. The news spread like wildfire, shaking the business world to its core. For Emma, the attack was a chilling reminder of the lengths her enemies would go to destroy her. But instead of fear, it fueled her resolve. With Henry behind bars, she knew the tide had turned. Emma Dawson was no longer just fighting for her company. She was reclaiming her life and her legacy. Emma sat in her private study late into the night, poring over the stack of old documents that Liam had recently uncovered. Among them was a crucial file, a supposed confession from her late father, implicating him in financial fraud decades earlier. This document had long been a stain on her family's legacy, used by her enemies to discredit her leadership. But something about it felt off. Emma's sharp eyes caught a subtle inconsistency. The signature didn't match her father's. The paper itself was too modern for its claimed date. A deeper investigation with Liam's help revealed the shocking truth. The document was a forgery, crafted by none other than Henry Prescott and Daniel Morgan. Their goal had been to undermine the Dawson family name, ensuring Emma would face endless scrutiny. The discovery ignited Emma's resolve. It wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. It was about restoring her family's honor. She decided to go public. The following morning, Emma held a press conference in the Grand Hall of Dawson Group's headquarters. Cameras from every major news outlet focused on her as she stood, poised and determined, before a sea of journalists. "Good morning," she began, her voice steady. "Today, I am here to address not just the lies perpetuated about my family, but to expose the malicious individuals behind them." She held up the forged document. "For years, this falsified confession has been used to tarnish my father's reputation and discredit the Dawson legacy. But thanks to extensive investigations, we have undeniable proof that this is a forgery, created by Henry Prescott and Daniel Morgan." The room gasped collectively. Emma continued, her tone unwavering. "These men not only sought to destroy my family's name, but also orchestrated a campaign of lies and deceit to destabilize Dawson Group. Here is the evidence." Large screens lit up behind her, displaying incriminating emails, bank transfers, and correspondences between Henry and Daniel. Every detail, meticulously gathered, painted a damning picture of their conspiracy. Reporters fired questions, and Emma answered each one with the confidence of someone who had reclaimed her power. "This isn't just about me," she said passionately. "It's about every person who has faced false accusations, every family whose legacy has been targeted by those who wield power without accountability. Today, we say no more." As the press conference ended, the news exploded worldwide. Headlines declared Emma's victory over her adversaries and celebrated her courage in standing up against corruption. Henry, already in custody, faced additional charges for forgery and defamation, while Daniel, now fully exposed, went into hiding to avoid arrest. The tide had turned decisively in Emma's favor. Standing before the cameras, Emma felt a surge of pride and vindication. Her family's honor was restored, and the foundation for Dawson Group's future was stronger than ever. Yet this was more than just a personal triumph. It was a message to the world. No matter how powerful the enemy, the truth always prevails. The courtroom was packed to capacity on the day of Daniel Morgan's sentencing. The air was thick with anticipation as the judge delivered the final verdict: guilty on multiple charges, including embezzlement and conspiracy. Daniel's face, once confident and full of bravado, was now pale and devoid of expression. He would serve a substantial prison sentence, a fitting conclusion for a man who had betrayed the trust of those closest to him. Elsewhere, Henry Prescott faced his reckoning. With the mountain of evidence Emma had provided, he was charged with forgery, corporate espionage, and attempted murder. As he was led out in handcuffs, the media swarmed, capturing the downfall of one of the business world's most unscrupulous figures. For Emma, these legal victories marked the end of a long and arduous battle. Dawson Group, once teetering on the brink of collapse, had not only survived but emerged stronger. Investors returned, stock prices soared, and Emma was hailed as a visionary leader who had weathered the storm with integrity and determination. In the days following the trials, Liam approached Emma with a sincerity that caught her off guard. The two had grown close during the chaos, their partnership rooted in mutual respect and trust. On a quiet evening at her family's estate, Liam presented her with a small box, a ring. "Emma," he began, his voice steady but hopeful, "you're the most extraordinary person I've ever known. I'd be honored to walk this journey with you." Emma's heart swelled with emotion, but she knew her path lay elsewhere. Taking his hands in hers, she spoke with gentle resolve. "Liam, you've been my rock through all of this, and I'll always be grateful. But right now, my focus needs to be on Dawson Group and on rebuilding my life. I'm not ready for this chapter yet." Though disappointed, Liam smiled, understanding her decision. "You're amazing, Emma. I'll always be in your corner." With that, Emma chose a different kind of commitment, one to herself and the legacy she was determined to preserve. The road ahead was filled with challenges, but it was hers to navigate, and she felt ready to face it. The grand ballroom of the Dawson Group headquarters was abuzz with energy as Emma Dawson stepped onto the stage for the much-anticipated press conference. The room, filled with media representatives, industry leaders, and supporters, fell silent as she approached the podium. Emma's elegant yet commanding presence was a testament to the resilience and transformation she had undergone. With a confident smile, she began. "Today marks a new chapter for Dawson Group, a chapter built on transparency, innovation, and sustainability. The past months have tested us, but they have also strengthened our resolve to lead by example in the corporate world." Emma outlined her vision for the company's future. She announced ambitious initiatives focused on ethical business practices, green energy investments, and community-driven projects. A key highlight was the establishment of the Clara Ruiz Foundation, named in memory of the woman whose tragic death had exposed the corruption that once threatened Dawson Group. The foundation would focus on protecting whistleblowers and supporting integrity in business. Applause filled the room as Emma concluded her speech. Reporters clamored to ask questions, but Emma's composed answers reflected her depth of understanding and commitment to her goals. Her leadership had transformed Dawson Group into a beacon of hope and inspiration in the corporate world. After the press conference, Emma stepped outside onto the terrace, where the city skyline stretched before her. For the first time in years, she felt a profound sense of peace. The trials she had faced had not only fortified her resolve, but had also redefined her purpose. She was no longer the woman overshadowed by betrayal and heartbreak. She was a force to be reckoned with, a leader with a vision that extended far beyond profit margins. In the months that followed, Dawson Group flourished under Emma's leadership. Her efforts to create a culture of accountability and innovation were met with overwhelming support, not just from the business community, but also from the public. Emma became a symbol of resilience and empowerment, her story resonating with countless individuals who saw in her a reflection of their own struggles and aspirations. Emma's personal life also found a new rhythm. She embraced her independence, dedicating time to pursuits that reignited her passions. She traveled, reconnected with old friends, and even took up painting, a hobby she had once loved but abandoned during the tumultuous years of her marriage. One evening, while overlooking the city from her penthouse balcony, Emma reflected on her journey. She had lost much, but gained something far greater, a sense of self-worth and a future that was entirely her own. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt a genuine excitement for what lay ahead. As the city lights twinkled like stars, she raised a glass of champagne to the horizon. "To new beginnings," she whispered, a confident smile on her lips. Her story was far from over, but the next chapter was hers to write. If this story touched your heart and you want more inspiring tales of hope, resilience, and the power of human connection, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that button and join us for more unforgettable journeys that will warm your soul and remind you of the beauty in life.